And this time he's more thorough, he's more detailed. Why did Luigi outsmart law enforcement? Easy, the ID. Let's talk about the law. Let's look at Pennsylvania law. What does it say as it relates to the elements of this particular crime? Bless your heart. I'm gonna clear up all the confusion over here on this channel. The element is the recipe. You need the complete recipe for the charge to stick. What did the officers fail to do? They failed to adhere to the recipe of this charge, which means after, I said this before, they needed to let him know he was under official investigation. Here's the problem, the officers can't lie. New York, you have to remember, did not have any evidence connecting the hostile image to the actual shooter. Those are two separate days. This is their speculation. He said, I knew immediately, this is him. Oh, really? Based on what? Thomas Dickey is saying, based on what, officer? What did you have that gave you so much confidence? I mean, what did New York provide Pennsylvania that gave them the confidence to suggest that my client is the shooter? If New York didn't have it, you don't have it. All this amazing evidence you guys collected, yeah, I'm gonna need it tossed, and I'm gonna need you to release my client. Not now, but right now. Welcome back, YouTube. This is The Real Nathan Daily, and I'm here to introduce a new segment to our channel called The Crime Classroom. And in these segments, we will take high-profile, controversial criminal cases, and we will break them down to the lowest common denominator by exploring all the intricate details needed to unravel a case from start to finish. I will walk you through all the nuances and things that you may not be familiar with. I'll educate you on tools, tactics, techniques. I will make you the investigator that you never thought you could be. Right here, you are looking at a 13-year law enforcement veteran and an expert at these cases, and I'm honored to be able to bring you on to my classroom. Let's talk about it. I look forward to seeing you there. And in each episode, we dive into a case. We expand further as the evidence becomes available. I will integrate class assignments into the videos for you to participate in, and you can respond in the comment section below. And of course, the best answers will get the most likes, and you will be honored on the channel. Listen, I look forward to your support. I look forward to you joining the class. Let's see if you can graduate and become one of my investigators. Welcome to the Crime Classroom. Welcome back. This is Real Nathan Daily, and we're here with another update. Thomas Dickey just submitted another document, and this time he's more thorough, he's more detailed. We're going to cover it here in this video, and we're going to break down a lot of questions that people are having. We're going to dispel some confusions. There are some people who still believe that Luigi's case is a solid one. Bless your heart. I'm going to clear up all the confusion over here on this channel. We are going to dive into police policies and procedures. We're going to talk about the law. We're going to talk about what key things Thomas Dickey is pointing out. Why this was an unlawful arrest. Why Luigi is probably going to walk. Let's talk about it. There are 6 main points from this new document that Thomas Dickey submitted. Let's go over the points. I'm going to put chapters here so you guys can go straight through it. Some of you guys have the attention span of a wombat. So let's look at it. What are the key things? Number 1, false arrest. Number 2, the Terry pat-down. Number 3, the papers, the manifesto, and the mischaracterization of those documents. Number 4, the unlawful detention, the 20-minute rule. We're going to talk about that. 5, the suspect was never identified out of New York. And lastly, the taking of the DNA. This is a police practice. We're going to cover it all over here. Let's start with the most important, because this is where people are the most confused. You guys, I said it before in the video Checkmate. Why did Luigi outsmart law enforcement? Easy, the ID. Let's talk about the law. Let's look at Pennsylvania law. What does it say as it relates to the elements of this particular crime, providing false identification to an officer? Let's look at it. Pennsylvania Statute 18 PA CSA, Crimes and Offense 4914, false identification to law enforcement authorities. A person commits an offense if he furnishes, that means provide, law enforcement authorities with false information about his identity after, keyword here, after being informed by a law enforcement officer who is in uniform or who has identified himself as a law enforcement officer that the person is the subject of an official investigation of a violation of law. Key word in this offense is after. This is the key. You guys, when it comes to offenses and criminal charges, we call these things the elements of the crime. The element is the recipe. You need the complete recipe for the charge to stick. What did the officers fail to do? They failed to adhere to the recipe of this charge, which means after. I said this before, just because you have a fake ID doesn't necessarily mean you can be charged with it. They needed to let him know he was under official investigation. Here's the problem, the officers can't lie. Because hindsight 2020, we know why the officers were there. They received a tip, okay, that this person looks like the person out of New York. Here's the issue. The officers now have to prove that they had enough information to be able to positively identify Luigi as the person of interest. Key thing, you guys, he's a person of interest. He wasn't wanted. New York, you have to remember, did not have any evidence connecting the hostile image to the actual shooter. Those are two separate days. This is their speculation, okay? But it's not 100% proven. They were unable to mirror the two together. This is a fact based on what we know. What's the other issue? The issue now is that New York has been putting out so much propaganda as it relates to this case that the Altoona Police Department is relying on the things that they saw from the media, pictures and videos, none that are clear visuals of Luigi's face or the shooter's face. So these officers made a decision to act as if Luigi was the suspect based off of photos that are not that clear and are not accurate. This is what they based their investigation off of. So what do we have? The officers show up, okay? They claim that they're there investigating a loitering claim. They say to Luigi, hey, you overstayed your welcome. This is the quote that's in the document. Overstayed his welcome, how? He's a paid customer inside McDonald's. He has food, he has a receipt. You guys, this is the most dangerous thing an officer can do during an investigation. Call a suspect's bluff. If you don't have proper intel, you make the wrong statements, you can blow the entire case, which is exactly what they did. They came in there and thought they were going to finesse this entire investigation. The problem with a lot of these new officers, you guys, they watch too much Law and Order. It doesn't work like that. You go in there, you're investigating loitering. First, the suspect says, I'm not loitering. Here's my receipt. Here's proof that I paid. And I'm eating. I'm in the process of eating. You see my food. Where did you get your information from? Now you put the officers in a conundrum. Why do I say that? Thomas Dickey puts in his document, he says, listen, these officers are investigating some wild hunch. They have no strong probable cause. They have no evidence. Did these officers conduct an investigation? No, they did not. Did they go and talk to the person who made the call and pointed him out as a suspect? No, they did not. Thomas Dickey is identifying all the mishaps of police procedures that the officers did not follow. You guys, this is embarrassing. And Thomas Dickey is absolutely correct. When you're conducting a suspicious person, you want to get information from the person who called. Okay, why do you think this is the suspect? You got to give me something tangible. You guys, people are saying, well, this is him. Look at the mask. Look at what he's wearing, okay? And he's also almost 4 hours away from the incident location. This is 5 to 6 days later. And what are you identifying him? Off of bushy eyebrows? This is not how you conduct an investigation. But were the officers investigating a crime? Could they be? The answer is no. Why is that? Because they are receiving information from New York. New York has a person of interest, meaning that if New York were to come across Luigi, who they believe may look like the person of interest, they wouldn't have enough probable cause to even detain or arrest him. So if New York doesn't have probable cause, then Pennsylvania doesn't have probable cause. This is the conundrum, you guys. So while they're actually trying to ascertain What did the officer say? And I showed you the clip. He said, I knew immediately this is him. Oh, really? Based on what? Thomas Dickey is saying, based on what, officer? What did you have that gave you so much confidence that my client is the shooter? Okay, now here's the problem. Pennsylvania is looking at Luigi as the shooter. New York is looking at Luigi as a person of interest. But New York is telling the world that the person of interest has to be a part of the homicide. But yet they had no nexus, right? They had no elements to connect the two. This was all speculation. These are hunches. Pennsylvania took the hunches out of New York and tried to apply it to the Pennsylvania case, which is bad juju. You can't do that. What do we have? Thomas Dickey points out the fact that did you have confirmation? Case assignment. Often as an investigator, a good practice is arguing both sides. With that being said, can you identify a nexus between the New York homicide case and the Altoona police investigation that would lead to the detainment and arrest of Luigi Mangione? Share your response below. Good luck. All right, you know the drill. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. It goes a long way, you guys. It helps push this video through so that more people can find the channel and enjoy us through this journey of uncovering the truth with Luigi Mangione. Thank you so much. Let's get back to it. So what is Thomas Dickey's argument? His argument is the officers in Pennsylvania had no probable cause because New York didn't have it. New York didn't have enough evidence, so there's no way Pennsylvania had enough evidence in order to say that my client is the shooter from New York. How can they? Where did they get it from? What did New York provide Pennsylvania that gave them the confidence to suggest that my client is the shooter? If New York didn't have it, you don't have it. And so now you are actually acting like my client's the suspect. And by doing that, you're also not even being honest about why you're there in the first place. You lied and said it's loitering. You can be immediately disproved. That's not true. Okay? So now what do you have? You're asking for an ID. This essentially is a consensual encounter, and I don't even have to give you an ID. But then you get an ID prior to letting me know I'm being investigated. You take my ID, you go out and run it, you do a background check, which is also a violation of my Fourth Amendment right, if you don't have probable cause to do so. Then what else happens? Based on the state law, you have to inform me that I'm under investigation. And by informing me that I'm under investigation, you need to Mirandize me because I need to know that I have the right to remain silent. I have a right to an attorney, and I don't have to talk to you. And you did not afford me that right. And you guys, and because of that, Thomas Dickey saying all this needs to be suppressed. You need to go ahead and suppress all this. That means what? Anything after this is gone. Exclusionary rule, I want it removed. And that's where we are with the case. I hope that that makes a lot more sense. Number two is the warrant, right? I touched about this briefly in the first chapter. The warrant specifically is a confirmation that we as a department, as investigators, we did our due diligence. We were able to connect the suspect to the crime. We have the evidence, we have the probable cause, we have a warrant signed by the judge. The judge looked at it and said all the elements of the crime connect. And I'm going to issue this warrant, which means that in this moment, you have investigators who put together a package and a photo, and we've all seen these. Let's look at an example out of New York. What does a wanted person look like? What are the elements that are on a wanted poster? You have the person's face, okay? You have the front face. It's very clear, very distinctive. Then you have the height, you have the weight. Then you have identifying markers like tattoos, right? Something wrong with the teeth, maybe a lazy eye, okay? Maybe a certain hairstyle. Then you have biographical information. Where does this person live at? What was the last time they were seen? Then you have the actual crime that they are wanted for. This right here is what we call a bolo. Essentially, this is a wanted person. This is an advertisement. And this is sent out to police departments all around, regional or nationwide, depending on the crime. Now, what Thomas Dickey is saying is that, what did New York give you? At any point in time was Luigi wanted. What did New York know at the time that would suggest that he was a wanted person. New York didn't have any of that. New York didn't pass it on to the Altoona Police Department. So how did you know? You're going based off of bird's eye view photo, a video with his back turned, a man with a mask holding a gun, and some digitized photo that you can't actually make a clear distinction out of? Is that what you use to try to determine that this person? Listen, I've been doing this thing for 14 years, and the photos they put in the media, I still can't make any sense of it, and none of them look alike, okay? Not even remotely alike. Body size, structure. Who's to say the shooter is even a male, right? I would ask the officer on the stand, based on what you see in this video, can you determine the gender? How can you? The face, mask, head, I mean, come on, you guys. So this is how officers are challenged on the stand, and this is how they make a fool of themselves. So in this document, Tom Dickey is pointing these things out. Where did you get your information from? Because if New York didn't have a clue, sir, you didn't have a clue. And this is so important for you guys to understand that when we have these wanted posters, we're looking at other distinguishing variables like tattoos and height, weight, body size, facial, skin complexion. This person has a mole right here. What did you have to give you the confidence that my client was the actual shooter in New York? Next, we're talking about the manifesto. Thomas Dickey points out and says, listen, there is no manifesto. You guys said it's a manifesto. These are my client's personal journal writings. You mischaracterized this and you've put this all across the media in order to paint my client as being something that he's not. You are out of line. This is not a manifesto because my client didn't say it was a manifesto. If you guys look back at other mass shooters or people who've done mass casualty killings, one thing that they'll have is they'll say, this is my manifesto, right? And they break down the reason why they're doing what they're doing. Luigi knew that they were going to mischaracterize this thing. He didn't have to say anything. The failure of the police investigation is speaking for itself. And he didn't have to do anything. You guys, so Thomas Dickey's pointing these things out and saying that the media and the police are wrong for feeding this propaganda, and you're trying to mischaracterize my client. His personal writings are not a manifesto. That's what you said. And don't put words in my client's mouth. And so this is what he's putting in the document. And I mean, he's absolutely correct. You guys, Thomas Dickey is on fire. Time. Often throughout this document, you'll see Thomas Dickey referencing time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He's constantly referencing the importance of time. Let me tell you why. As officers, our investigation is limited by the amount of time that we utilize. 20 minutes is the golden rule. You have 20 minutes to carry out your investigation. And if you can find additional evidence, additional clues, you can earn more time. But if you can't, and you hold my client longer than the scope of the investigation allows, you are then now infringing on my client's rights. So you guys, this is a delicate process here. You got to be quick, you got to be accurate, and you have to be able to articulate how you got from point A to point B. Why did this interaction last 30 minutes? Why did this interaction last an hour? As officers, you have to be able to explain and walk the attorneys through this process. Here we are as an example, a real example. I remember stopping a vehicle before, a legitimate traffic stop, and something about it wasn't right. I had a hunch to believe that maybe there was drugs inside the car. So I called up a friend of mine and said, hey, listen, hey, I got a guy. I just want you to do a sweep of the car with your dog, K9, drug dog, and see if you find anything, because that will give me the warrantless search needed to check the car. He said, yeah, no problem, but I'm on a call right now, and I'll probably be about 30 minutes. Guess what my supervisor said? No can do. Write him his ticket and let him go. Why? Because you guys, I stopped him for a traffic violation. Then from there, you only have a reasonable amount of time you can actually keep them for an investigation. 30 minutes is keeping them way past the scope of the traffic stop, and therefore I had to let him go. Unfortunately, that's the name of the game, you guys. And so with this case, Thomas Dickey is talking about the officers are pushing their limit on time. What are they asking my client about when they did not have any probable cause to detain him in the first case? Because they're trying to connect New York. New York can't connect their own dots. And now Pennsylvania is trying to solve New York's case that New York couldn't solve in the first place. And this is where the entire case of Pennsylvania falls apart. The officers were overzealous. They didn't understand the laws that they were actually investigating themselves. They basically created the perfect scenario. So essentially, Thomas Dickey is basically saying, I don't know what you guys thought you're doing, but one, this arrest was unlawful, first of all. Second of all, there was no crime that he committed in Pennsylvania, nor did he commit that you can prove of in New York. Three, this ID that you took, you can't charge him for that because he wasn't being investigated of any crime because he didn't commit a crime. Four, how did you guys actually identify him? Because New York couldn't even positively identify their own case. So now you took their case and tried to solve it off of a hunch, chasing your tails, and you look retarded. Lastly, you've extended this scope of this investigation way over a reasonable amount of time by surrounding my client. He's unable to go. And for all we know, you guys don't even know what you're doing. You can't even investigate your own state offenses. And now you want to think you can take over and investigate New York's? Man, get out of here. And lastly, all this amazing evidence you guys collected, yeah, I'm gonna need it tossed. And I mean for you to release my client. Not now, but right now. Lastly, one of the most interesting things about this document you guys pointed out was the DNA collection. Is this lawful? Can the police collect your DNA the way that they did Luigi? Yes, they can. What happened? Luigi's being interviewed at the headquarters and they offer him something to drink and eat out of the goodness of their heart, only deceptively to pull the prints off or the DNA off of whatever the can or the food, whatever he was eating. I don't know what they used specifically. Well, Thomas Dickey saying, no, you can't do that. And I want all that suppressed. Why is Thomas Dickey saying that? Because again, this goes back to the very beginning. They had no legal right to arrest them. This was an unlawful arrest. So everything the police did after the fact is the fruit of the poisonous tree. All right, and I'm gonna explain the fruit thing in a minute. But is this practice a legitimate police practice, you guys? Yes, it is. Did the officers do anything wrong? No, they can do that, okay? I've never done it. I know officers, investigators who have done it. I've never seen it done, but I know it is a technique that is used. So Thomas Dickey is saying, nah, we're not doing that. The police deceptively pulled the prints. How do they get away with that? The moment you use something and you discard it, it's considered free game, okay? We've seen this with the Brian Kohlberger case. With Brian Kohlberger, he's cleaning out stuff. He puts it in a trash bag. He dumps it in his neighbor's trash. The police go in there. They're already watching them. They go and pull that stuff. All right, if it's discarded, it's free for anybody to have, okay? So there's no expectation of privacy when you actually discard something. So just be mindful if you're sitting down and they're like, hey, you want a cigarette or you want something to drink? You'd be like, no. Or wipe the table down before you leave. But anyways, listen, I know this is a lot of information. I try to run through it as quickly as possible. I hope that this clarified as much. I know there's a lot going on, but I know people have their own interpretation as what's going on. Don't interpret based off your feelings. Interpret this information based off the facts, okay? If you have any questions, put them in the comment section. You guys see I'm very active through the comments. I love to hear the questions and your thoughts and even your theories. So please, by all means, share as much as you can. Let me know what you think. If you haven't already, like, comment, share, subscribe. And with that, you guys, good night. God bless.